All right, now with the perspective from Lubbock, Texas Tech, of course, athletics. Her and her alongside her co-host, they cover Texas Tech athletics from top to bottom, every sport. It is a strong recommendation that you follow them at C and Scarlett. And we're speaking, of course, with Shelby here to talk a little bit about Gerry Glasco at Texas Tech. Shelby, welcome here on In the Circle on D1 Softball.
Hey, thanks for having me. Excited to be here and talk a little bit about this. I'm sure everybody was had their heads turned on it. So yeah, let's get into it for sure.
The big news, there's still a stunner across softball. It's still that Gerry Glasco is your new head coach at Texas Tech. When I say that, what it goes through your mind, Shelby, on that? The fact that Gerry Glasco now has taken over the program of the Red Raiders.
I think when you add in the fact what we've been through the last 2 weeks, when you lose Craig Snider, who was had us on the uprise, there's a lot of heartbreak there and a lot of like hope lost. I think the immediate thing was excitement and hope and relief. If I had to say three words for the fan base and us, it's just like, okay, the hope is renewed. We can still stay on this track we were on. There's excitement there. And yeah, I think we were as surprised as everyone. Not on Wednesday. I kind of had covering the team kind of had known this might be coming for about a week. But when I heard he was coming to Lubbock and visiting and interviewing, I was like, oh, so he's actually considering it. Because I think maybe we had tried in past cycles and there just wasn't interest for him to leave Louisiana. But yeah, so it was excitement, a little bit of shock, just like everybody else in the initial phases when we found out. But I think it gives us a lot of hope and a lot of relief and just excitement for the future of the program.
How do you describe the last few weeks at Texas Tech? Let's talk. I mean, Craig Snider leaving along with his wife now
Hmm.
to Tennessee. The
Congrats.
joint, yeah, they got married a week ago. This is just crazy to even bring up. But the two of them got to go to Tennessee to join Karen Weekly's staff, replacing the Malvos who became head coaches at Auburn. So now you're without a head coach. You're looking for a fourth head coach and and people there were a lot of rumors about who would be the next head coach. Certain names would
Mhm.
pop up. Next thing you know, and I remember this because I'm recording the podcast on Wednesday, and I get a message. Look for this name, and it's Gerry. I'm like, what? And next thing
Yeah.
you know, Kevin Foote, who we had on the podcast, talks about the timeline. He had until Thursday to accept, and then he accepts the job on Thursday, and everybody's like, wow. So you just mentioned you kind of gotten hints about it even before
Hmm.
that. So take me through this whirlwind from Snider and leaving to now Gerry Glasgow arriving.
Yeah, Snyder, I don't think anyone saw coming outside of obviously his camp, and we don't have to get too much into that. That's his life and his personal decisions. I get it. They get to coach together a little closer to home, and maybe he gets to get back to just doing what he loves and being a hitting coach as well, what he's really good at. So it hurt. It was shocking, and because we've been through a lot at Texas Tech, we don't need to get into our history, but this Jerry's our fourth coach in 6 years. Like it's been a bit of a roller coaster since we had some good years there and it felt like we were on the uprise with Snider and that felt like it got stolen from us. So it was really painful and you felt for the players and all that. Um and the immediate thing was like, man, we got to believe in admin. They have to go do it. So like everyone's like pushing admin as if they listen to us, but everyone's like, hey, go get a coach, get it quick and let them make their life decisions. So that was kind of the process. And then when it comes to candidates, we probably heard the same names everybody was hearing and they were from my understanding in contention. I heard Sam Martyr came up randomly. I don't know how much actual consideration there was there. I think we were interested. She's a former tech assistant. She's up at Oregon. I think that would have been really fun, but she hasn't had any head coaching spots. And you think if she's going to go, it's going to be Ohio State, and they didn't take her. So I think that was kind of a tea leave there. But there was a lot of names. It came down. I did get that confirmed. It was down to Rodney DeLong of UNT and Gerry Glasgow as of Monday of this past week. I started hearing his name this past weekend, and usually when I hear names like his, I'm like, okay, yeah, cool, let's dream. Like people were like, OU assistants and all these things, and I'm like, yeah, dream. And then same thing with him. But then I heard he was going to be visiting Lubbock, and then funny story. somebody, a Texas Tech fan, happened to recognize him at the airport on Monday night. So then that got confirmed. They were standing next to him in line, and he had just like his name on his bag or something. So that's Texas Tech fans, man. If people don't know Texas Tech fans, they are FBI agents. They are passionate. And so I had heard he was coming to Lubbock, but I didn't really believe it until that. And then I got it confirmed. So yeah. And then that kind of went from there. And supposedly he nailed his interviews, and it was going kind of back and forth. What people were telling me on Wednesday, but flight tracking, you could see there was a people even finding like flights on Wednesday morning to Lafayette as if maybe they had flown him home on
Nice.
Wednesday morning. All these things were coming out, and it felt like that was the direction it was going. And then we kind of got confirmation of that Wednesday afternoon, and the school wasn't comfortable confirming it until Thursday morning early. I believe he met with the team really early Thursday morning. Our team. I'm hopeful that he met with Louisiana the night before. I can't confirm that. The Louisiana people would have to, but that's what I heard. At least kept them updated. But our team, he met with them on Thursday, and then the announcement came out later that morning. So that's kind of the timeline of events. There's a lot of other hoops
Sure.
and
No, no, that
turns
is.
of that, but
I
there was some good candidates. Ronnie DeLong could be a candidate for Louisiana, to be honest. So he's a good coach too. So I think either way they went, but Jerry has that pedigree and that excitement around it for sure.
I love the fact we got flights, tracking flights, like we're treating this like a football basketball hire.
Yeah,
I'm
Texas
digging it.
Tech fans, I'm telling you, people don't, I know people are shocked and they're like, Texas Tech doesn't care about softball, but Texas Tech fans you're not a Texas Tech fan unless you're a Texas Tech fan. You don't have t-shirt fans. You don't have like, you went to Texas Tech or you grew up a Red Raider. And so they're passionate about any of their sports. And so when someone leaves like that, everyone's like, by good, we got to go out and find the best coach and stick it to them. Not that I don't have Snider wishing the best, like that's not me, but that's how the sentiment is, right? And
Sure.
so people were like, yeah, I don't really know who this guy is, but I saw his name on the bag and I Googled it. And then I was like, oh, I'm assuming we're interviewing him. And
Oh
so,
man.
yeah, fans are, and then, yeah, someone was tracking flights and said that all these things. And so he was back in Louisiana when the announcement came out, is my assumption. But he drove to Lubbock on Friday to start everything.
That is incredible. That is an amazing story. Uh,
Yeah.
well, let's talk about why we think he made this move. Because some people, that's one of the questions people are asking.
Good question. Yeah.
Why make the move? I have heard that this is more about the NIL and support outside,
Hmm.
not necessarily, hey, he was not he was happy there and everything, but that Texas Tech made a great offer, in particular with name, image, likeness, and that support to try to get players and things like that. What have you heard as far as a possible reason for Gerry taking the job, and do you buy that the NIL that Texas Tech has play a big role in this?
I would buy that. I can't confirm that. I think that's, we're all waiting for the press conference that did get moved from was supposed to be Friday. They moved it to this coming week because he wanted to go ahead and drive over to Lubbock to get to work. But yeah, I would think so. I think, I don't know other schools and L situations, but ours is probably for a team that hadn't been to the postseason in 5 years better than most. We already had a team wide deal that was 5 figures for each player. That happened 2 years ago with what's called the Matador Club at Texas Tech. And then I assume he's going to grow that more. He has that personality to reach out to donors and things of that nature. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that's a part of it. You get to build a winner here. I think I can understand why some mid-major coaches are a little concerned about the landscape of college softball and what's to come, or college sports and what's to come with revenue sharing and all that, which is another element of recruiting that you can do at the power conference level that probably mid-majors won't be able to take advantage of when that comes. And then we talked a little bit about it on our show, and this one is totally just, it goes off of, I mean, D1 softball, I had an interview with him, and he talked about in the interview that he really missed the competition of when he was an assistant in the SEC and how it prepared his teams. And so I do wonder if, like, he's obviously coming to the end of his career. If he wants to get back to OKC and he sees like, okay, I'm going to have perhaps better in NIL support. Again, I can't confirm that, but I understand the assumptions there and the rumors that are out there. Maybe just some more revenue sharing and all that stuff, but also your team's going to be prepared probably better in the Big 12 than it is the Sun Belt, if we're being fair. And so when they get there, they don't lose to Baylor in the host. So I think that's more part of it than anything, but I'm sure NIL helps. So it's like his best chance to get back to OKC. All those factors in play is he'll have a team that's prepared and kind of battle tested playing in the Big 12, and he'll have the support maybe he feels like just wasn't possible. And it's not a shot at Louisiana. It just kind of
Sure,
is what it is with the current landscape. So we'll find out what his answer is. I don't know how much they can talk about NIL, but
sure.
I get that assumption, and I do think we have boosters and people that are willing to step up for sure. But we'll see.
So, what is Gerry Glasco inheriting in Texas Tech, not only from the softball side of things, but just from a whole athletic department standpoint?
Inheriting, you mean like the players or just like the
Just
fan
the whole,
base or
yeah, the fan base, just the environment, everything,
yeah.
the department, everything.
Yeah, what I would say is he has a chance to come in here and build the program that Texas Tech deserves in softball. The fan base is very passionate. I just talked about them tracking flights, right? They're into it. Texas Tech Twitter is a thing. The fans are into it. They're engaged, but they need a program that they can believe in and have some hope around and trust because there's been a roller coaster here. And I think he's going to bring that and grow that. I think there is a lot of support there to be had if they can trust in it and he can kind of grow something special in Lubbock. There's a lot of talent when it comes to just straight softball in West Texas that just leaves every year. I think there was like 5 players in the College World Series Championship Series from West Texas this year between Texas and OU. There's a bunch of them in the SEC. And there's a lot of interest in softball, believe it or not, in West Texas. They just put one of those pro league teams in Lubbock, but there's a big interest there, so he's inheriting that, and just a fan base that's like insanely passionate, and they just need direction. They just need to know where to go, how to support it, and to be there. And the facilities at Texas Tech, like the stadium itself, is getting better, but like the facilities as a whole on campus are wild for athletics. Like they have their dining hall and their study hall and all those things he's getting as well. That I would hope are a little bit of an upgrade over Louisiana, but the stadium itself, he's going to have to work on for sure.
What, roster wise, obviously that's going to be fluid as it is in
Mm-hmm.
today's day and age. Obviously, it's funny. Just as we were right before we started recording, Kaylee
Yeah,
Wyckoff announced she's going to
sad.
Arkansas, who's one of my two favorite, actually, Texas Tech Red Raider players of all time. I really enjoyed covering her. Her and
Ooh,
Erin Edmondson. I don't know if you remember Erin when she was pitcher
yeah.
led to 2019. Those are two of my favorite players. So that's always the bummer about this stuff. You get to know people and they leave. So I know it's a bummer for you all because she was, I mean, to win a Big 12 Freshman of the Year award is not easy when you look at the history. And she was able to
No.
accomplish that. And you had a veteran team this past year. So you lost some seniors there. So
10 of
is
them.
it, yeah. So is this a rebuild for Gerry here now? With everything going on, I'm sure he's going to add people and everything like that. But kind of describe about the roster there. Is it a rebuild a little bit where he's got to get some? You're going to be a little younger.
Yeah, he'll definitely have to go out and add some spots. I'll just start on Kaylee just to touch on her. Love that girl. Great person, great player. Arkansas fans, if you're listening to this, you got a great one. Enjoy her. Pro at bats, just enjoyable to watch. So we were hoping she'd come back, but it wasn't super confident in that. So it wasn't super shocking to see the news today. But Arkansas, good for them. We wish her the best. But yeah, it's tough in these situations. You know that players are going to come and go. But for the most part, Kaylee was the only one that entered the portal after the Snider left. There was a few before that. But we have 9 returners as it stands. And then we have the number 2 ranked class. Everyone knows how softball rankings are, but the extra inning ranked in the number 2 class in the country coming in next year. And none of those have asked out of their like letters of intent from my understanding, and they all posted about the Glasgow thing seemingly excited. So they're really good. There's like two or three really good pitchers, a couple outfielders, really good infielder. But yeah, they would be young. So I am interested to see, like, even if you add 7 to 9, that's only 16 players. So even so, he's going to have to go out and get some players in the portal, which I've heard he's working already on that kind of stuff. So we'll see what comes from it. But what I've heard is he drove all day Friday to get to Lubbock from Louisiana so he could start working. And then he had meetings all day yesterday with all that stuff. And then same thing today for the most part. So I do think he's trying to win sooner than later. And we'll see how that comes together. It's late in the process, and you just lost someone like Wyckoff, but I don't know how much he was counting on that returning or not. But we'll see who he gets in here. But I'd say a rebuild, but hopefully a reload so that we can win. I don't think he came here to like 5 years from now finally be in the postseason. I think he came here to get them in the postseason the first year if he can.
I agree, and Gerry is very obviously when he was at Louisiana used the transfer portal, so that's nothing
Hmm.
new. I mean that's he'll get to work. That doesn't surprise me one bit. I want to ask you about and Jimmy. Obviously, you followed every sport at Texas Tech, literally
Hmm.
every sport. Like you do a great job of that. You interviewed tennis players, you've interviewed women's basketball players. I mean, you're up to date on everything. Which is why if you're a Red Raider fan, you should follow them at seeing Scarlett. Where does Texas Tech softball fall under the pecking order at Texas Tech? You know, mainstream wise, I mean, everybody assumes football is at the top. Men's
For
basketball
sure.
certainly great success with getting to the Final Four, which I believe you were at the Final Four. I think I saw
I
a photo.
was,
So
yeah,
that you have that. Baseball's had great tradition with Ted Tedlock since he's taken over, getting to Omaha. And
hmm
I've been one that always wondered, why can't softball duplicate what baseball has done? But where is softball in the pecking order as far as Texas Tech athletics is concerned?
As far as like fans, is that what you're talking about?
Interest, yeah, fan
Yeah.
interest, everything.
I think, well, just because it's been such a roller coaster, there's fans, it's hard for some fans to get into it because it's like we're changing coaches, we're successful, we, like that kind of thing. So I think as soon as they get to winning again and win successfully, we kind of saw that in the last 2 years with Snider, where there was some excitement, they were breaking records, people started coming out, people were talking about them. It'll be there. But if you're saying currently, yeah, I mean, it's Texas, right? Football. Like football is king in the state of Texas. It always is going to be. I mean, our football program, I love them, and I'm really excited where Joe McGuire's got them going. But we haven't really done much in the last however many years, and it's still number one on the pecking order for fans, no matter how successful the other sports are. That's just kind of how it's always going to be at Texas Tech. And then yeah, basketball. About that, women's basketball has a lot of culture around it, a lot of history around it because they won a national championship before, and so there's quite a bit of support there on the basketball side. And then baseball, our track program's insane, but that's fans are fans. So I would say football, basketball, baseball, softball in those orders of the kind of the big team sports. There's a lot of interest there for sure, but we'll see. I think it's an untapped diamond is what we say on our show, and we're biased, of course, but I really believe that. And we said that with Snider, like it can turn around real fast with the right person, and he had it headed in the right direction. And there's a lot of talent and a lot of interest in West Texas for softball, and they pack that stadium every time OU, Texas, Oklahoma State comes to town just because they want to watch good softball. So if you give them good softball, they're going to pack it for Red Raiders too. So that's probably the best way I can answer your
Yeah,
question
no,
is,
that
yeah.
makes sense because I saw one of your episodes. You and Sibby, I think, mentioned the fact that West Texas, you both feel is an untapped
Yeah.
mark, right, of just talent over there,
Hmm.
and that you both believe, that you've drawn big crowds when Oklahoma's there, Texas, that makes a ton of sense. But you feel that whoever the head coach was, at the time, I think when you mentioned it, now it's Gerry's responsibility. I'm assuming
Yeah.
this will be the advice you would give him if you had to give him any advice is get that talent in West Texas area. You're going to be fine, and you're going to help draw packed houses there at the stadium for softball.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to give Gerry Glasgow advice on recruiting. He obviously knows what he's doing. Go get who you think. But there is a lot of talent. Like, I mean, I'm not going to name all the names, but like I said earlier, I think there was 4 or 5 from West Texas proper, if you want to call it that, in the West Texas region. Not necessarily all from Lubbock, but just Abilene, areas like that, Argyle, that were in the championship series at the College World Series between Texas and OU alone. There's quite a few West Texas players in the SEC. We've had some transfer there, most recently with Kaylee, but others have gone there. Edmondson, I believe, went up to Tennessee a few years ago. So it's just about keeping them there and then go get the other talent. There's great talent. Even on our roster, we have great talent that's returning and that is from Dallas and San Antonio and Houston. Don't get me wrong, there's talent everywhere, but if you're just looking at our backyard, it's more the interest. Like a lot of people are playing softball and it's been that way for decades, and they just haven't always stayed here. Now we were good, like 6, 7 years ago, and they were staying here, and that's why that was helping these programs get good. And that was pre-NIL and all that stuff. When we were having more success for Texas Tech softball, is they were keeping a lot of those home. But yeah, it's there. I promise you. I know people maybe don't get it. They think of West Texas, they think of dirt and nothing else and all that, but there's a lot of athletic talent in West Texas, in all sports. I mean, we have the number one basketball player in the country in Lubbock, and in 2025 for the women's basketball players out of Lubbock. Like the athletic talent in West Texas is big. It's just a matter of keeping them here.
Kirby Holcutt is the AD. It's
Hmm.
been very polarizing. I guess I'll
Yeah.
say it that way. It's been ups and downs there. What does this hire? I mean, this has to be. This has to be a huge hire for him in a lot of ways. I mean, I can't imagine anybody being critical of this particular hire. Uh,
Hmm.
does this help him in that regard from an image standpoint? Because I know it's been rocky at times. We're not going to get into the whole history with the softball program, but there's obviously been off-field issues in the past and things like that.
Yeah.
But this could be the hire of the offseason, the way this could end up playing out.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad hire. So like I don't know, that's the best way you can put it. There's definitely been some things that give some people a pause and all that. And if there is an investment or is there not, I'll say on the softball side, that investment started about 2 years ago. I think Snider was a good hire. I think we can all agree with that. So
Yeah,
it's not like the last hire was a good one too. That all the stuff before that. But there was $1 million donation to the softball program 2 years ago that's been in the program for now, and they've been doing a lot of upgrades on the facility. So our kind of plea with this pre the hire was like, don't let that stop. It's like you've started that train for whatever reason. We've decided to invest in it now and believe in softball and keep it going and step up to what you have to do in this day and age to compete. Don't stop that. And so I'm happy they didn't stop, right? They went out and they shot their shot that no one thought we could get, and they went for it, and they convinced Gerry Glasco to come to Lubbock. Because I'm sure when he got on that plane to Lubbock, it was not a I'm taking this job if they offer it situation. Like they had to
sure.
convince that man that the support was going to be there, that the facilities were going to be there, that he could build something and finish out his career if that's his plan in Lubbock to kind of cap off his career and do something special and build a legacy here. So I think it was a good hire. Hopefully it turns out well. And I think I'll leave it there when it comes to that. I don't think it's above my pay grade to speak too much on the rest of
Sure. Yeah.
Kirby Holcutt. But yeah, I don't think you can sit here and say he didn't go out and get them a coach that they deserved because you talked about the returners. Like there's some really good returners on this group in this group that's coming back, and I felt so bad for them, and I was like they deserve, like, especially like a Demi Elder who's a senior. This will be her third coach now, and it's like, okay, go out and get this girl someone she deserves that she can
Sure.
finish out her career for. And I feel like they did that because you didn't want to have like a rebuild situation. I don't think it's necessarily a rebuild, as I think he wants to win right away. We'll see. I've heard things. People are like, y'all could have a top 25 roster if he fills it in the way people are hearing.
Listen,
But
don't. Yeah,
until we
no.
see the players come in, but he's
Yeah.
working supposedly, and he's already on those phones and all those things you have to do. And if that comes together, yeah, I think it was. I don't think you can argue it wasn't a good hire for sure.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me. Plus, it's a new Big 12 that he's getting himself into, and this was something that was interesting talking to the folks at Louisiana. They wondered, would he make this jump if, for example, if Oklahoma and Texas were still in the league? The fact that it's a
Right.
little more wide open, you've got Arizona, Utah, Arizona State joining the league. It was the number 2 conference in softball this past year, just behind the SEC, was number 1 the year before that. I still think it's going to be the number 2 conference,
I
even with
agree.
losing OU and Texas. And this, if anything, it creates more depth because I talking to every coach in the Big 12, they're like, yeah, OU and Texas, you know what? They're going to do their damage in the SEC. Now there's going to be more parity. And there was even more parity this year in the Big 12. It was a strong year in the Big 12. Got 5 bids in. I went on record. I thought it should have been 6. We won't get into that. Could have been 7.
Agreed.
I know you're not arguing on that one. But what is your thoughts on the new Big 12 without OU Texas, but getting Arizona, Utah, and Arizona State? Just from a softball standpoint,
Yeah.
when you think of that, what comes to your mind?
Yeah, I think there's more depth now. There's more teams. There's more teams to play. I'm interested to see how they do the schedule, and if we start earlier, go later, how that's going to work. But yeah, it's like that in every sport. OU and Texas are leaving, but the ones that are incoming add so much more depth in history. I mean, Arizona was OU before OU was OU, right? In
Right, right.
softball, so you assume they're going to get back there, and they've been to the World Series not too long ago. Like they're a good program still. Utah's been in the postseason. I know they have some players in the portal and all that, but they'll be fine. So yeah, I think it's gonna be. I agree. I think it's gonna be the second best conference still. I don't see the ACC or the certainly not the Big Ten. No offense, being better than the Big 12, even sans Texas and OU. Uh, but yeah, Texas and OU are just like, I mean, there's some SEC teams that are about to find out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you could be a really good team and still go into a 3-game series with OU and Texas and know you're just about to get worked. And that can be demoralizing. And there's some mid to lower SEC teams that are about to find that out, that's just who they are as programs. But we still have Oklahoma State. You still have Baylor, who beat Louisiana. You still have UCF that I know you cover closely. I think BYU is going to be really good next year. I think it took them a little bit to adjust to the Big 12
Yeah.
play. I
Yeah.
mean, we kind of beat them up their first Big 12 series, and they just got progressively better as the season went on and upset Oklahoma State in the Big 12 tournament. But their coach, they have a good history there and all those teams coming in. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be a really good conference, and I think it's going to be one that prepares you for the postseason, with maybe without less of the just like, okay, like what are we supposed to do with this when you go up against OU and Texas, those games. But overall, I think the talent's there and it'll definitely prepare us for the postseason, which is the goal here. So
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's going to be exciting for the Big 12. And yeah, I think sometimes I wondered if sometimes those scores kind of skewed some people's perception of that team.
absolutely, I think
You know,
playing Texas 4 times in 6 days,
yeah,
which is what we did
yeah,
with our pitching staff that was already our ace, who shout out Sage Hoover, who hopefully she's returning. Sounds like she is. She was supposed to be our ace this year. Had like 111 strikeouts and 100
sure.
innings and only 20 walks in 2023. Was supposed to be our ace this year and got shut down right before the season. We were up against it pitching wise before the season started. And then you get to that point at the end of the year, everyone's kind of banged up and all that, and you asked to play Texas, the #1 offense in the nation, 4 times in 5 or 6 days, whatever it was. It was not going to go well. And I think, yeah, that skewed kind of people's perceptions about our team when it's not really fair. But again, some SEC teams are about to find out what that means.
That's
The
their problem
committee's
now.
about to find out as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, that's their problem now over there. You're looking ahead with Gerry Glasco, which is going to be fun. I just think it's going to be exciting times in Lubbock, and you're going to get to cover it. You and your co-host, and that's going to be the thing. Tell the audience where they can find you and all the great work you all do.
For sure. You can find us. We're really active on Twitter at Seeing Scarlett _. Same thing on YouTube. We post during the season, definitely weekly recap shows, lives typically, so you can engage with us. We show highlights, we break down film, we do all the things for softball, for all the sports that we cover. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. We're really active and engaged and do what we can to cover these teams and give them kind of the coverage and the hype that they deserve, is what we say around here. So we keep it positive, but we're honest, but it's a good time. We have a good time on Seeing Scarlett. If you like any sports, you just want to check us out, go find us on Twitter or wherever, and X, whatever y'all people call it. I still call it Twitter, and give us a follow.
It's great stuff. Thank you so much, Shelby, for joining us here. Love the show. We're definitely gonna get you and your sidekick, your co-host, back at some point. I'm
Hopefully
sure,
she'll be able to join.
especially with the Gerry Glasgow. He's and trust me, I'm sure you're gonna get to talk to him at some point. He's worth an episode by himself. Trust me on that.
That's
He's
exciting. We
fantastic.
hope so.
All right, Shelby,
We'll
good.
work on it.
Thanks for joining us here on In the Circle at D1 Softball and your expertise there on Texas Tech. Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was enjoyable. I guess we'll catch you next time, hopefully when we're really doing big things next year and y'all want to talk about Texas Tech.